I'm your host, A-Train Wayne, here with Goni
Up, boys?
and Begley.
Gentlemen,
Looking real tan, back from a week on the beach.
Extra
bronze.
tan. Yep.
Looking real. Did you sit on the beach with your shirt on or your shirt off, man? The world wants to know.
It was off, man. I had my man meat just flying around in the breeze, buddy.
I like it.
I'm a dad, man. Like once you have multiple kids and you hit 30, just all shame goes out the window.
Yeah. I thought. I mean, we don't have the kids, but we put on the weight for the kids.
You know, I will say, when you go to the beach, right? Everybody, you're stressed about it. You think there's gonna be a lot of Arnolds walking around, but just a bunch of dads out there, man. There's love handles everywhere. We're not alone.
The Arnolds are a lot fewer than the dad bods. That's
true.
exactly right. The way I see it, man, I'm married. I'm with the woman I'm gonna die with. I look good enough to be respectful to her, and not an ounce better.
The minimum threshold.
That's what we're all about here.
Exactly. Boy, I mean, what's been going on with you? But it's been a week. Goni came over to the house yesterday. He met my doorman.
Brolic doorman. Mad mob.
There's not a lot of bugs. I'm not a scared of bugs guy, but I hate praying mantises. Praying mantis.
Manti Teo.
Oh, God.
Praying Manti Teo.
And there's been one just standing guard. This thing is like as big as my forearm.
It's
Standing
huge.
guard on my front door. And like I have like those, those little electrified tennis rackets that you get to like swat flies with and everything.
Oh yeah.
I kid you not. I zapped this thing and it just straight tanked it. It tanked it and stared at me and dared me to do it again.
It's literally no joke. I missed it on the way in, and I was talking to Wayne's daughter, and she was like, "Oh, we have a praying mantis." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I showed her one on my phone because I saw one at my house, and it was like it's the smallest one I'd ever seen. It was like an inch, maybe 2 inches big. And I show her on the phone. She's like, "Oh, do you want to see ours?" Yeah, sure. So I go outside, we open the door, she points up, and I look at it, and I'm like, "Oh, crap. This thing was gigantic." Huge.
And I'm not even kidding. Like I wonder if they'll be able to see like the shock that I give this thing.
We'll see. Oh. Oh man, nah, it doesn't do it justice.
Oh man, it doesn't do it
doesn't
justice.
do it justice.
He just tanked it. Anyways,
Yeah, it's gigantic. It could probably eat a bird, Mad Mob.
Anyway, I'm very nervous because he's just right outside that door right there, and I just know one of these days I'm going to hear like a faint like, and it's going to be him with his little pincers trying to come in and just tear up my whole family. Anyways, we have football this week, boys.
I bet you don't
Football.
have to see a fly in your house, man.
Nah, he's serving a purpose out there.
Yeah.
Football happened, boys.
Football happened. The Hall of
watch the
Fame
game?
game, the Las Vegas Raiders, Jacksonville Jaguars. Las Vegas Raiders, I believe, is Begley's early favorite to win the Super Bowl this year.
Yep.
Huh?
Derek Carr,
They'll be
MVP.
They'll be good. They'll be good, man. Listen, they have to be good for the league because they just got a new stadium. They moved to Las Vegas. The league needs them to build that fan base. They'll be good.
Yeah. Do you all have any? So the internet was kind of in a craze about Josh Jacobs being out there for the first two drives. Are you all that stressed about it?
Why?
Not really.
What's the point?
I mean,
He did good while he was out there. I mean, I know it. Like he did 5 attempts. He rushed the ball 5 times. People, yeah, he was out there for 2 drives, but he rushed the ball 5 times, and he averaged 6 yards per rush. So when he got the ball out there with the second team, he was like, "What are y'all doing?"
I mean, they've already shown that they don't really, value him probably as a long-term asset. Just they declined his option. They probably feel confident in the other running backs that they have there as well. The guys got work. Zamir White looked pretty good for the carries that he got.
Zamir White, the only running back on both teams that got double-digit carries, averaged 4.7 yards a carry. It looked decent.
Yeah, he looked good. I mean, I just don't think they're worried about it. Maybe it's just, the the media and the community blowing it up out of proportion, really.
Yeah, don't worry about it if you're a Josh Jacobs lover. I'd say his ADP is still kind of accurate.
Yep.
All right, we are in episode 3 of our 4-episode mini-series where we dive into a division of each conference to give you our locks, overvalues, and dark horses from their respective ADP. This week we are doing the AFC and NFC North, and it's going to be a good one. I was a little bit easier than when we did the East. I don't know. I had trouble finding them out of that one. I didn't have that. I don't know. Did y'all struggle finding yours with this one?
Well, the East was difficult because we get hung up on the overvalued players, and when you're just terrible at football and fantasy football, it's hard to pick an overvalue out of that, like you have out of the worst division in football, the NFC East. Am I right, Beggs?
Stop it. Conference of Champions.
By far the worst. Not even close. Not even a close
Conference
second.
Champions? When?
I said the Conference of Champions. The Division of Champions. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right,
Conference sounded better.
It sounds better, but it's a height that the Cowboys can't reach.
Stop it. This year's our year.
Every year's your year.
The Cowboy motto, this is our year. All right, so we're going clockwise. It looks like Begley's on top.
Brutal.
Literally, the only time he's ever on top is when he joins the call first.
Hell.
Because yeah.
Go and join it first, Wayne. So something must be going on with the algo over there on your side, man.
I don't know. I joined it last. That's all I know.
All right. Well,
which is pretty rare.
Here.
Kick
all
it
right,
off.
so we're gonna start with the. Who do we normally start with? The AFC or NFC?
I'm not even sure, to be
Who are
honest
the
with you.
spiciest takes? Who do we feel like are the spiciest takes? We'll save that for last. I'd rather start. I feel like the AFCs we're going to have a little bit more discussion on, right?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe. We'll see where it takes us.
Then let's start with the NFC.
Okay.
We'll try and run through the NFC. Give me your lock for the NFC North, Beggs.
A.J. Dillon, Thunder Thighs. ADP at 66, running back 25. We all know about Aaron Rodgers' lack of receiving weapons this year, losing Devontae Adams. They didn't really replace him with anybody. I think that the team's moving more to the run game. They're going to rely on it more than they have kind of historically. I think they're going to go to a little more play-action passing. Matt Schneiderman of The Athletic had a quote that I saw recently that he expects his backfield to be a 50-50 split at least. I think he's going to get more work than he has in the past. He was really productive last year at an 8.3 production premium rating, which is like a measure of what do you do with carries and receptions compared to the average NFL player. And he was very elite. So far out of camp, Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur are raving about A.J. Dillon's kind of revamped pass-catching abilities. I've got a quote here from Aaron Rodgers, who, as we know, is a cantankerous SOB. He said his pass-catching ability is really, really solid. He's made difficult catches look easy over the last couple of years. In this training camp, I couldn't be more proud of 28 and his approach. And Matt LaFleur had kind of coming out and said we knew we had pretty decent hands coming out of college, although he had thrown the ball a whole lot. As a receiver out of the backfield, he's exceeding all of our expectations. I think once you kind of add in some more receptions, more passing work for A.J. Dillon, he's the red zone option in Green Bay. He was 12th last year in red zone touches with 46. Devontae Adams leaving, these 28 red zone targets kind of vacated. I think A.J. Dillon takes half of those, a little more receptions. This guy's a lock to be an RB2, man.
I mean, I don't have anything against A.J. Dillon at all. I actually saw a picture on Instagram or Twitter recently where it was A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones standing next to each other. And you see the size of A.J. Dillon's legs compared to Aaron Jones's little stick legs. And I think someone dubbed him as the Quad Father. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I like him. I like where he's being drafted at right now as far as ADP goes. I like the potential that he has. And I think he's going to do some good things this year. He might even take over, next year. They might let Aaron Jones go, and he could be the guy for you dynasty guys out there. So I like it.
Yeah, his ADP running back wise has him just outside RB2, which I'd agree with. I don't think it's going to be. I don't know what you're reading. I don't think it's going to be a direct 50-50 split. I mean, Aaron Jones is he's more talented. I mean,
MVP. It cuts into his MVP talk. That's why
MVP. It's not going to be a split. It's not going to be a 50-50 split. Period. I mean, he's the better runner. AJ Dillon's the bruiser, obviously, but Aaron Jones is that dude in Green Bay in the backfield. Period. But that being said, I can't argue with your lock. I mean, it has him as the RB25, and I think that's perfectly reasonable for him to be at. So if you get him as the RB25, I agree with Begley. I think you're going to get value out of him right where you got him.
It's going to suck to have to tackle that man when it gets freezing cold. When we get to like November, December in Green Bay, it's going to be terrible.
Terrible.
So that's something to look forward to as well.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, moving on. I believe I have the lockiest of locks for the NFC North, and that's Justin Jefferson. Your boy Jetta. I got to him first. You can't have him. He's currently going as the 106 in your redraft leagues as the wide receiver 2. He improved on his rookie season, finishing as the wide receiver 4 last year with 1,616 yards and 10 touchdowns. He saw 167 targets last year. That is a tremendous amount. Mm-hmm. Just volume. Lock him up for another 160 plus this year. He was also really consistent. He only had one bust game all year last year. It was week 8 where he only scored 4.1. Like I was saying, consistency is something you want out of your first round picks. You don't really want those kind of feast or famine guys. You're looking for a guy who gives you consistent production week in, week out. He gave you at least double digit games every week of the season, except for that one. He also had 7 great games, which I counted as games with 20 points or more. 7 of those, and it could have almost been 9 because he had 2 other games with 19 and change. So he's a generational talent, as Wayne has mentioned 150 times in the past, and he currently has the most receiving yards of any player in NFL history through his first 2 seasons. So this guy's locked in. Go ahead and take him if he falls to you there, if you don't get your running back in the first round, and you'll feel good about it.
No arguments.
No arguments. LSU in college had him and Chase and Terrace Marshall on the same team.
And they dominated that year. And Joey B.
Joey B set the record, didn't he? Didn't he set the record for touchdowns?
He might have. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Put up a whole lot.
Begley was supposed to be a resident.
Well, hang tight. I'll tell you.
Yeah, college football guy. I know it's surprising to all you, to the Mad Mob out there, listening to what Begley has to say about the NFL and everything, but he's actually very knowledgeable when it comes to college.
Very.
I don't know whether to say thank you or tell you to go screw yourself, Wayne, after that. But thanks, man. Appreciate it. And Joe Burrow does have the record for most touchdown passes in the season, which is 60.
Do you guys? I'm just doing this off the top of my head, but do you know who he beat out for that record off the top of your head, unless you're looking at it, Beggs?
I'm not looking at it. I'm gonna say, wow. My first thought was,
is it passing touchdowns?
Passing touchdowns, correct.
It's probably something weird like oh gosh, who was that old USC quarterback? Failed miserably.
Leinart?
Matt Leinart. That's who I was thinking.
I'm gonna say like an area guy, man. I'm gonna go like Texas Tech, Washington State.
Like a Baker Mayfield, maybe?
Yeah, it could be. I'm gonna go with. Let's go Kyler Murray. Final answer.
I would have to research it, but I believe it was Colt Brennan.
Hawaii.
Out of Hawaii. Colt Brennan.
Okay.
Let's see.
Just a name I remember from way
Hawaii
back.
was my team on the old college game days.
Man, fire jerseys too.
Oh yeah, that's why they were my team.
I will tell you guys here in 1 second. Hang tight. It
While we're hanging
is.
tight for this answer, did you know Derrick Henry broke somebody's helmet with a stiff arm this week in training camp?
God.
I believe it. His stiff arms are like anything,
That's
like
not a
unlike
joke.
anything I've ever seen.
That's not a joke. I'm reading it right now. Derrick Henry broke a teammate's helmet with a stiff arm. It's
Was the
on
guy's
ESPN.
skull fractured?
I don't know what he did. I don't know if he like ripped the dude's face mask clean off and stripped every screw holding that into the helmet, or just palmed this dude's head. And I don't know. It's Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry does his stiff arms weird too. It's not the traditional, like, the guy's coming in and just gives you a little quick hit, and throws you away. He like lets you get into him, so he gets all the torque behind it and just drives you into the ground.
Yeah. He's trying to make you retire.
Yeah.
Fact.
100%.
Would you rather meet AJ Dillon in a gap, or would you rather get a Derrick Henry stiff arm on the sideline?
I'd probably rather stand in the middle of the highway.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Fair enough. Colt Brennan was second with 58.
Colt Brennan.
All right, the old Gene Jones run and shoot.
The man, the myth, the Brennan.
All right. My lock is the other half of the backfield in Green Bay, Aaron Jones. His ADP is at 21, which puts him as the RB11. If you've listened to my running back rankings, which of course have changed because we did that back in May, Aaron Jones is, I still believe he's going to be a top running back. So they've got him finishing as the RB11 this year. He actually finished as the RB11 last year as well. Injury still, he missed a few games. This offense isn't going to stall under Aaron Rodgers. The only thing that I'm seeing for Aaron Jones, last year he only got 4 touchdowns. He finished 31st among running backs in touchdowns and still pulled a running back 11 finish. There's no way that he just does 4 touchdowns again. Devontae Adams obviously sucked up a lot of those touchdowns. I think those go up. As well as his yards. I mean, his attempts in general. I think RB11 is an absolute lock with a ceiling of RB5.
Yeah, I'm with you. Wait, I'm going to ask you, man. First of all, I totally agree with the pick. Super high on Aaron Jones. I know Goni's had a little different opinion. Are you comfortable taking Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon on the same fantasy team?
I've never been like that. I don't like to put all my eggs in one basket. I would never do that. I won't do it with, I think this year, from a redraft perspective, that's a good question. Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, or Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are the most. They're slated to output the most, and I don't want them as my RB1 or RB2. That being said, if I had, Aaron Jones and Melvin Gordon as my RB2, or Aaron Jones and Kareem Hunt as my RB2, I'm fine with that. I just hate putting all my eggs in one basket. It's kind of like I don't want Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I don't want Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. You know what I'm saying? I don't want 1-2s on the same team.
You limit your upside by if you pigeonhole yourself into having to play them every week. Like, I don't really have a problem with taking Javonte and Melvin Gordon because of the vast difference in cost for both of those guys. A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones are going to be a little closer to each other in cost towards the, beginning of the draft, really, first few rounds. So, I mean, you don't want to have to play them both every week because you're limiting your upside regardless. I mean, you don't want to live or die by a backfield, kind of how Wayne was saying as well. So that's just for me. I've come around on Aaron Jones, though, a little bit since we did the rankings. I still don't love him a whole lot, but I am big on his receiving ability and just how much the receptions are going to play a factor into his finish this year.
Only 4 touchdowns. That's what killed me. Is he finished as an RB1 last year? Only 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, he'll get some positive regression.
Some positive regression? Wouldn't you just call that progression?
Maybe not.
Okay. I don't know. That's what Begley. Do you have an opinion on that?
Wordsmith
Say that again for me.
said he'll have some positive regression going from 4 to something more towards his average, maybe a 6, 7.
Well, you got to remember, like I said, Devontae is leaving 28 red zone targets.
No.
behind.
I
we're
don't
not
want your
debating
opinion
that.
on that. I want your opinion on what he said. Would you
The
say
term
there's some
positive
progression or positive regression?
Yeah, I mean, regression can go either ways. Like you can
Oh,
regress to the mean.
Okay, I'm wrong.
up and down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go.
There we go.
Oh my gosh,
On a
hang
trip.
on.
Book with
Wayne's
Priceline.
trying to get
You
me and
save more,
everything,
so you
and
can
I'm pretty
lose
sure it
more.
was the correct term. I'm sticking by it. I appreciate it, Biggs, for giving your honest
Feel
opinion.
the savings.
I
Priceline.
would call positive regression. Yeah, regression. Yeah,
In a positive manner.
yeah.
Story checks out. Wayne just Googled it. He found out.
No. You all are gonna see whenever we play this back. I have ESPN up, and you know how ESPN loves to just like randomly blare ads through a computer. So that's Mad Mob. That's what you were hearing over them talking just now.
Oh, cool.
But
Nice.
I assure you, the ad was probably a lot more entertaining than whatever Gunny was saying at the time.
It was something along the lines of Wayne being wrong about positive
Somebody's getting
regression.
free advertisement on our podcast, and I'm not happy about it. All right, let's go into our overvalues. Beggs, who you got?
Demo, David Montgomery, ADP of 35, running back 17. Running back 17 will be his best finish aside from his fourth place year in 2020.
Aside from his top 5 finish.
Yeah, but he's only had one top 5 in 3 years. I mean, by any website you look at, the Bears projected a bottom 5 offensive line. Last year he ranked 34th in the league in seeing stack boxes, which is just how often you see a 6-man front on average. The Bears losing Allen Robinson, adding no offensive weapons, Fields looking mediocre last year. I don't see how Chicago doesn't see more heavier fronts this year. I think people are going to dare Fields to beat him over the top. I don't love David Montgomery's running opportunities this year as much as I did last year. I think they're going to be worse opportunities. That's what I'm trying to say. So Bears Insiders also projected it to be more of a committee this year. New offensive coordinator Luke Getsy comes from Green Bay, which, as we know, they utilize Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I don't think the split's going to resemble anything like it did in Green Bay, but I do think Herbert is going to eat into David Montgomery's workload. He was a bell cow essentially his first 3 years in the league, really the last 2 years, but he kind of picked up on the back end of his first year. Herbert looked great last year when we replaced David Montgomery with the injury. He ran for 350 yards in 4 games. He did lose all of his work when Demo came back, but the word was I was kind of due to some pass protection issues. I think with an offseason of film and some work, we'll see Herbert kind of improve in the pass game, which will hurt David Montgomery. I think Matt Nagy leaving Chicago, I think it'll hurt David Montgomery's stock. We really don't know what we're going to get, but we do know that Luke Getsy has come out and said that he really wants to maximize Justin Fields' strengths. That's an outside run, zone run scheme. They're going to try to get Justin Fields out of the pocket, get him throwing on the run a little more. That's where he excelled last year. That scheme fits closer to Herbert's skill set than David Montgomery's. He's a north-south guy, not really an east-west. And I think it really kind of limits his receiving upside. In his fourth-place finish in 2020, I think he had like 52 targets or 52 receptions out of the backfield on 60 targets. I do expect that to go down this year. I think the last concern I've got is the Bears defense, man. They're going to be bad. The Bears are just going to be a horrible team, kind of in general. I see them playing from behind a lot. I'm just not high. I'm not high on David Montgomery at all this year, man.
Who do you think will be the goal line back out of the two, though?
I think it'll be Montgomery. But
So he might cede some of the passing work to Khalil Herbert and eat into the carries and whatnot, but I think, he'll get the goal line work as well. David Montgomery is kind of like a hero to some guys just because when he did have that fourth place finish, I remember going into the playoffs, he tore it up. He absolutely won people leagues. Wayne over here, it's just, when you do something like that, you leave a good lasting memory. That could be buoying his ADP, but at the same time, like, I mean, I wouldn't mind to have him in the flex or something. I don't think that's bad at all.
No, the thing
Yeah.
with David Montgomery is the whole offensive line and stack box. Like he's been facing the same thing. When he had his fourth place finish in fantasy, his offensive line was ranked 20th at the end of the year. They were 23rd last year, and he was fine. He's done nothing but run behind a terrible offensive line. So that's nothing that's new to him this year. I don't know. I don't think he's overvalued. What did you say he was the RB-17?
That's correct.
I'm not mad about him as my RB2.
Yeah, I'm like Goni. I'd rather have him in my flex right now. He's an RB2. I think he sees more stack boxes. He didn't see many stack boxes last year. I think he's going to see a lot more. I just think it's just going to have a lot more impediments to the run game. I guess what I'm saying, right? And you take away Allen Robinson, people are going to really be able to key in and put that extra defender in the box, man.
Yeah, but then you got to think that defender on the box is anybody going against the Bears this year. They're going to be a lot more guys that are zoned in on Justin Fields. Their assignment is Justin Fields. They have a mobile quarterback, a quarterback that's going to scramble and try and run. So he might see an extra player or two in the box, but you got to think one of those guys is always going to be one of those linebackers is almost always going to be keyed on Fields.
I agree, and I think that hurts Montgomery. Just like we know Lamar vultures a lot of points away from his running backs in Baltimore. Scrambling quarterbacks, they also don't check the ball down very often. We know that. And I mean, look, Montgomery's he's a volume guy, man. Like had 80% opportunity share last year, which was fourth. Snap share of 75%, which was second amongst all running backs. He's on the field a lot. I think that gets tailored back this year. They're going to introduce Herbert more. They let Tariq Cohen go. They're familiar with her, or they're comfortable with Herbert. They didn't bring on any free agents. He just this is his fourth year in the league, man. He can't keep up that kind of volume. And the offensive line, I think, is worse now than what it's ever been since he's been there. This is a bottom 5 unit in the league, and it's not close.
TBD. See how it goes. Honestly, I don't know. I don't really mind him too much, but either way, moving on, sir. I have my overvalued pick. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Currently
Surprising.
going at the 605. I know. 605 is the ADP as the wide receiver 27. Right now in the fantasy community, we're seeing, a lot of mixed reviews based on the last 6 games of last year. We have some people who rode with him to a championship, like Wayne and I, and we see that and it looks good. You have other people who don't believe in it. Maybe it was just a flash in the pan. So during that last 6-game stretch, however, he was the number 2 wide receiver in all of fantasy behind only Cooper Kupp. He averaged 25.1 points a game. He was awesome. He was great. It's a different year. We have different circumstances this year. So over that stretch, he didn't have Hawkinson. He didn't have Swift. And without those guys, they were the 1 and 2 targets all throughout the year. He was averaging 11 targets a game. It's going to come down for sure. He's not going to get 11 targets a game. You got to factor in, they brought in DJ Chark. Whatever you think about him, I know he's not a world beater. He never was. He probably never will be. But they paid him money to come there, play on the outside. They traded up and drafted Jameson Williams, who's going to start out the season hurt, I understand. But he is the future there as their number 1 receiver, or at least that's the hope. So you have to see him coming in and getting some work. I mean, there's just a lot of factors going on right here. His target share coming down from 11. I think he can be valuable. I'm not saying he's not going to be nothing. There's just other guys in that area. This is one I'm willing to be wrong on as an overvalue. So personally, if you're listening to me on this one, I suggest you take your shot on other guys near his ADP, such as an A.J. Dillon, a Darnell Mooney, a Rashad Bateman, or even a Gabe Davis. I just like to try and put my eggs in a different basket this year, and I'm willing to be wrong on it. What do you think, guys?
It gets so tiring. You look for any reason to plug Gabe Davis.
It's
He's
exhausting.
near the ADP, man.
It is exhausting. Listen, Begley, are you angry if Amon-Ra is your WR2?
No.
You ain't happy, though. You ain't happy. You're lightweight, a little bit worried about it, man. If he's your wide receiver 2.
If he's our wide receiver 2, we've got a loaded running back room. We may have got a top tight end as well. If he's our wide receiver 2, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, guy gets open. He gets open. He beats coverage. I know. I see what you're saying. Targets are going to go down. I agree that they will. Is 100 targets out of the question for a slot guy who just gets open?
Over the course of a season, no, because you bring that down from 11 to, say, you could probably get there in like 7, maybe 7 a game or so. But 100 targets is not going to be 100 catches coming from Jared Goff. And I like the other options around him, whether it be running back or wide receiver. That's really my only basis for going. It's a little risky. It's risky for my like, and he just doesn't provide, that home run kind of upside. He just PPR'd you to death last year. He didn't break monster plays regularly. So that's all. It's just a risky play that I don't really want to mess with. I'll take my chance on someone else.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I can't hate on it. I mean, I totally get the viewpoint. I think he's solid, but I understand the logic.
My overvalue, I'm not 100% confident in. I'll just come out and say it. It's Adam Thielen. His ADP is 71, the wide receiver 30. So essentially a top flex play. His ADP is WR30, and he finished as a WR28 last year. My thing is he only saw double-digit targets twice last year and only turned one of those games into double-digit receptions. Maybe 3 times. But either way, he only had one game with double-digit receptions. He's going to be 32 going into this year. Actually turns 32 this month. And he stands in the absolutely gigantic shadow of Jay Jetta. He hasn't played a full season since 2018. So that's kind of my thing. And on top of that, they have an elite running back, which takes a good deal of the offensive snaps away. And when they do decide to pass the ball, guess who they're looking at? Is it possible for him to live up to his ADP? Yes. I just think it requires him to be healthy for the season, and that hasn't happened in 4 years, and I don't see that happening at age 32. That's why I'm overvaluing him. He's not gonna finish as the WR30 when he's missing 5-6 games a year, which is what I project him missing this year.
Yeah, I mean, and really the thing that stands out to me the most really is that he's kind of touchdown dependent, right? His targets have come down the last 2 years from 108 to 95, receptions from 74 to 67. Yardage came down as well, but he scored 10 touchdowns last year and 14 the year before. This man is absolutely at his cliff.
Double-digit
so it's just
touchdowns?
A matter of time. Yeah, it's just a matter of time until he falls off this cliff.
And finishes the WR28. Is there anybody else in the league that had double-digit touchdowns and didn't finish it as a starting wide receiver on a fantasy team?
Doubtful.
That's what I'm saying. There's no way. The only way I see him living up to his ADP is an injury-free year, which just isn't going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Give me. Look at the pieces around him. You had Harris in New England, Smith-Schuster, Goddard, Bateman, London, Hunt, Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis every time.
I like those guys.
You're the man, Beggs.
Yeah, I'm with you. Plus, there's a new offense coordinator, a new whole coaching regime, actually, right, in Minnesota. So we don't know what that's going to be anyway. So I agree, Wayne. I'm with you.
Yeah, I just think it's more on I think Alexander Madison is a little bit more involved, which means the run game is a little bit more prevalent, and just a whole lot of things not looking good for the old white guy.
The old white guy.
That sums up the NFC. The NFC North.
We have the undervalues left.
Dark horse.
We haven't done the dark horse.
Yes.
Begley, start us off, amigo.
All right, I'm going to be a little bit quicker. My dark horse is Darnell Mooney. ADP is 70, wide receiver 29. I got to be honest here. I wasn't super high on Darnell Mooney until Goni kind of talked me into him earlier this year. Talked me in so much, I actually traded for him. So I put my money where my mouth is on Darnell Mooney. He's a pure volume play, man. I mean, y'all know I expect the Bears offense to be bad. He was wide receiver 23 last year. Right now, his ADP has him at wide receiver 29. I don't see any regression here. We know the Bears lost Allen Robinson. He got 140 targets last year, 150, 160. He's not out of the realm. I don't think that they're good targets, but there are a lot of targets. He's the only option at wide receiver in Chicago. They got a bunch of rookies. Byron Pringle was brought in, and then Equanimous St. Brown's making some news right now. But these guys,
Velus Jones,
yeah. But I mean, look, it's his show, man. He's a top 25 separator versus man coverage, 11th last year in route wins. The advanced metrics love this guy. He gets open a lot, and Fields throws it to him a lot. I'm hoping the TDs go up a little bit, and I'm hoping Fields improves on his accuracy, which probably won't happen. But if they can manage the game, use the play action effectively, we could get better targets from Mooney. Maybe get him closer to the 7-8 touchdown range.
Yeah, I think with him getting 160 targets, he's in line for at least 100 reception season, right? You'd have to figure that he catches 100 balls is going his way. He gets targeted 160 times. So we've already talked about this plenty. It's, like you said, strictly volume. This man is going to be peppered with targets. He was the preferred target over Allen Robinson last year for Justin Fields. And it's just going to be, they're playing from behind, as you mentioned before. Playing from behind, just chucking it, and we'll see some good things.
Yep.
I agree. I love it. I love it probably even more than the guy that's picking it. I have more faith in Justin Fields. So, I think Darnell Mooney is a great dark horse. I agree with every point you've made on the fact that he'll probably get a lot more targets, and I think his targets have a little bit higher quality this year. So, yeah, I think Darnell Mooney, if you get him around his ADP, you're getting phenomenal value out of him. I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
This one's actually an easy segue to mine, which is also a bear for my dark horse. It's tight end Cole Kmet. His ADP is currently at the 1008 as the tight end 13. We've already mentioned that Allen Robinson is gone. He's vacating only 66 targets. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but it's still targets that have to go somewhere. Cole Kmet was in his second season last year with 93 targets. Usually sophomore tight ends don't see that kind of volume that early on in their career by any means. He also didn't score any touchdowns. He's due for some touchdowns this year. I mean, the chances of you going back-to-back with goose eggs is very, very low. Like we said, it's only him and Mooney in the passing game, with the plethora of options Beggs named as far as Pringle, St. Brown, and Velus Jones. Gross. And I just love him for his opportunity cost, really. You're looking in the 10th round. So, I mean, if you miss out on one of the tight ends that you like earlier on, whether it be like a Dalton Schultz or, a Kittle, I don't know how high a lot of you guys might draft tight ends, but if you miss out on your first guy, he happens to go a few picks in front of you or anything like that, take a shot on Cole Kmet. You're going to love the volume you see out of what he's going to give you this year, and he's going to PPR you to death, really.
He's a
lock to
ceiling.
me for a tight end 1. I think he's a top 12 without a doubt, which is not saying a lot because his ADP is 13, but he's easy top 10.
I'm not going to beat a dead horse because I've talked to y'all about Cole Kmet already. I think that's a good pick. I think we're going to slowly see his ADP go up a little bit. Luckily, hopefully it doesn't go up too much by the time my draft starts, so I can get him at that ADP value. But yeah, I agree. I like it. Pure volume play.
Yeah. Do you guys like David Njoku or Cole Kmet?
Cole Kmet, easy.
Dwayne?
Cole Kmet.
Even if Deshaun Watson were to play the full year?
Cole Kmet.
Even. Deshaun Watson's never shown a big love for the tight ends. Jordan Akins and whoever else they had there before Brevin Jordan didn't really do too much ever.
Fair.
So Fells. I think it was Darren Fells was his name.
Yeah. Okay. Wayne, who you got, man?
I'm going back to Green Bay. My dark horse this year is Alan Lazard. His ADP is 105. The WR 45 puts you completely out of anybody's starting lineup. Listen, Aaron Rodgers, discount double check. Rodgers, Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the best to ever do it. His WR1 is Alan Lazard this year, and his WR1 is gonna yield fantasy relevance. I mean, there's just that's just how it is. I mean, ever since Rodgers has been in the league, he hasn't had a wide. His WR1 on his team has not finished outside of the top 24 in receivers in fantasy. This year, it's not going to be any different. He's just so I looked back through Aaron Rodgers' top receivers over his career. It was Devontae Adams a lot. He had some years with Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, Randall Cobb. There was one year that I was like, who is that guy? It was 2013. It was Jarrett Boykin. And I thought, why? When was this guy's WR1? Apparently in 2013, Greg Jennings and Randall Cobb went down, and Jarrett Boykin had to start 8 games. In those 8 games, he had almost 700 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers is an MVP. You can't tell me that Aaron Rodgers' number one option in the air is going to finish outside of fantasy relevance. I don't see. There's nobody that can convince me otherwise. He is absolutely going to be at top 36 at least. I mean, the fact that you got to have faith in Aaron Rodgers. I understand that Alan Lazard is not a desirable name, but he is Aaron Rodgers' number one target. He's going to be fantasy relevant, period.
Yeah, I agree, man. So somebody in Green Bay is gonna be good, right? And I think Alan Lazard is the best chance of any of them. So I totally agree. I think he's worth the flyer, especially that late in drafts.
Yeah. He'll return value for sure on his ADP. It's a great late round flyer, and like you said, Aaron Rodgers, you got to take whoever his number one's going to be. If you could really take any Hall of Famer's number one option in any given year for fantasy, you're going to do it. It's going to pay off. So yeah, great pick.
Yeah. Plus, Aaron Rodgers is gassing him up, man. He keeps talking about him in camp. Says he's hungry.
Yeah, this is his year. Alan Lazard wants to get paid like everybody else is getting paid around him, and it's not very often that you get to stare at your depth chart and see that you are a Hall of Fame quarterback's number one option.
Yeah,
and that was the only reason that's happening is everybody's left town. So he's got to take advantage, and he knows he's got to take advantage to get paid.
Yep. I like the pick.
All right, that rounds out the NFC. Now we're going to swap on over to the AFC. Begley, give me your lock.
Nicholas Fitzgerald Chubb is my lock. ADP of 15, RB 9. There was news today. Kareem Hunt walked off the practice field requesting a trade. I'm sorry if that bursted your bubbles, Wayne. I know you were counting on a really sick segue later on in the show.
It's fine. But, we were all going to go through our locks, and then we were going to go through our overvalues, and then we were going to hit it, so people were going to forget about it by then. But thanks for bringing attention to it.
There we go. Segues. So, A, we may finally get to see Nick Chubb be on the field more, and B, he might actually catch passes this year, which is, everybody knows the only 2 holes in this game. I saw Bill Barnwell put out a stat. He's a writer for ESPN. Against a loaded box, the average back gains 3.7 yards per carry. Nick Chubb versus a loaded box, 6.9. He's an absolute animal. And with Deshaun Watson being suspended right now for 6 games, teams are not going to respect Jacoby Brissett. He's going to see a loaded box, and he really doesn't care. He's going to go ahead and eat anyway. He's 1,100 yards, 8 TD kind of floor kind of guy. Any sort of uptick in the passing game, any sort of uptick in carries, Nick Chubb's about as lock as you're going to get from me.
Yeah, you get that man in on third down or in the fourth quarter, whenever they're behind or just all the goal line work, you're going to see good things happen. We already know he's one of the best running backs, pure running backs in the league. And this is the receiving game and third down work is really what's preventing him from being one of the elite guys at the top end of drafts, right?
Yeah, I like it. I've been singing Nick Chubb's praises from the beginning. I like that as a lock. I think, honestly, I think his ceiling is higher than where he's at. So I think you're definitely getting value at his ADP.
Yep, agree. I'd be curious to see if his ADP goes up anymore with the Kareem Hunt news. To see jump.
We've got about a month left until the season or so. So, I mean, I feel like there will probably have to be more substantial development for the ADP to be boosted up, dramatically. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see a little uptick, a few spots.
Yeah.
But hey, my next lock is Mark Andrews. I feel like this is an absolute easy one. Take it to the bank. He's going at the 205 in drafts as the tight end 2. He dethroned Travis Kelce last year as the tight end king after a 5-year reign. Travis Kelce ruled the tight end spot for 5 straight years, which is ridiculous. He had 107 receptions on 154 targets. He had over 1,300 yards, scored 9 touchdowns. What changed? Ravens traded Hollywood away. It's just him, Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, James Proche. There's just not a lot of options there. They're expected to run the ball a whole lot, but you're going to have to pass at some point, and there's just not a lot of mouths to feed there. I don't see him getting any less than another 150 to 160 targets. And regardless, Lamar has shown that Andrews is the preferred option in the passing game no matter who's there. So this one's easy to me. If you like going for your tight ends early, second round early, he's going to compete for that number 1 spot again this year.
Easy lock. And if you're a Mark Andrews owner, you want to hope that Lamar gets hurt so Tyler Huntley can come in because he ate off Tyler Huntley last year. Actually did more work off Huntley than Lamar.
Little fun fact.
Yeah, it's a lock. I think Lamar that's his only option. Red zone, Mark Andrews, and everybody knows it, and nobody can do anything about it. So I look for him to just not only get a lot of receptions this year, but just get an absolute stupid amount of touchdowns.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, my lock, and this is the lockiest of locks. I'm picking Jamar Chase. His ADP is 8, WR3. Number 1 guy on a prolific offense. He shared the ball a lot and still managed to get WR5 last year. This interesting stat that I looked up for him. He received 12 pass attempts when the Bengals were in the red zone, and all 12 of them were in the end zone. So when they're looking to throw into pay dirt, when they're close, they're throwing it to Jamar Chase every single time. I don't know. I mean, he's third. He was third in touchdowns last year, yet 22nd in target share. So I'm looking for that. Just shows you that he's not getting a lot of. All his targets are important targets. I mean, that's the only way I know how to put it. So I look for his output to increase outside of the red zone, but still keeping that red zone prevalency. I just see him, and that's just him going from WR5 to a WR3 to lock him out at that. So 12 for 12 for red zone to end zone pass attempts, 22nd in target share last year, and still finishing as the WR5, which me and Begler were talking about this earlier today. And that, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, kind of outscored each other game after game. One game it'd be T, one game it'd be Jamar, one game it'd be T, one game Jamar. And he still finished as the WR5. I think he commands a lot more. I think T struggles to outscore him this year. I think he's the guy there. Everybody knows it. And he's going to play more of that starter role this year, which makes him a lock at that WR3 spot.
Man, I did everything in my power to try to look at Jamar Chase as my overvalue, and it's not there, man. This guy's legit. It's a great pick. I think he's the closest thing we have to Randy Moss, man. Like he he
That's
doesn't
big
get a
time.
lot of separation. He doesn't get a lot of separation. He's not blown by anybody. He's not route running people to death. He's just catching the ball in your freaking face and then spiking it in the end zone. He's a super elite at doing it. Love Jamar Chase.
He's just a phenomenal athlete, man. The name of the game for him last year was efficiency, is what I think you're looking for on that one, Wayne. He did what he did. He didn't have a million targets. T. Higgins had more targets than he did, and honestly, it's just because he was a rookie. So generally, when a guy with that much draft capital goes into his second year, they always see more targets than they did the rookie year. So highly expect that to go up. He will be getting the lion's share from Joe Burrow. T. Higgins will probably regress a little as far as the targets go, and he's just a beast. Like Begg said, he's just going to jump over guys. He's going to run by guys. He's going to do all the things he needs to do. So, yeah, take it to the bank.
Monster.
Begg, so you got for your overvalue out of the AFC.
I'm going to take a page out of Goney's playbook, and I'm going to hedge my bets here. And I'm going to say I'm not totally sold on this guy. I'm okay to be wrong here. This is more of a gut play for me. But it's Deontay Johnson, ADP of 39, wide receiver 13. So just a hair out of wide receiver 1 range. Look, I'm worried about Pittsburgh, man. I'm just concerned, right? I mean, right now they're saying that Rudolph's giving Trubisky everything he wants in camp. Kenny Pickett's a distant third. But we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. We probably won't know until week 1. If it's Trubisky, the first bad game he's going to have, you're going to have 1,000 drunken Yinzers up in Pittsburgh shaking their Yinglings and saying, put Kenny Pickett in the game. I just think it's going to be kind of a cancerous situation in Pittsburgh this year. He had 170 targets last year. Was wide receiver 8. No way he gets 170 targets this year. I think the offense changes. It's going to be more run first. I think they have to be to protect the quarterbacks. I think they're going to lean more on the play action passing. I mean, Wayne, you give me a look, but Mitch Trubisky isn't throwing the ball 600 times this year like Ben did last year. Trubisky's never thrown the ball 600 times a year, ever. It's not going to happen. They drafted George Pickens. You have the emergence of Freiermuth last year. I'm a little concerned about just the total distribution of targets in Pittsburgh's offense. But as a whole, man, I'm kind of worried about Pittsburgh in general. I'm fading most Pittsburgh players.
I mean, you prefaced that one with saying that you don't want to be wrong, so I can't really absolutely destroy you on this one by any means. It's just on the upside. He's a guy that I'm a little on the fence on. It kind of depends who's around him. I don't really know who's around him right now, but Trubisky's had a history of kind of just hyper targeting his number one. We've talked about it plenty of times before. Allen Robinson finished at wide receiver 7, wide receiver 9 in that terrible Chicago Bears offense. So if he feels like Deontay is going to be that guy, then Deontay could be that guy. He's got the talent for it. It's just, and like you said, what are you going to get out of the offense?
And talk about a cancerous situation playing in Chicago.
Yeah, but to be fair, there's more talent in Pittsburgh now, by far more talent than there was in Chicago. Claypool, which I know he's had his woes, but he's still probably more talented than Anthony Miller, who was Chicago's 2. Right? You draft George Pickens, you got Freiermuth, you have Najee. Chicago was Jordan Howard, I think, and with Montgomery as backup.
Yep.
I like Pittsburgh's talent more. I think they will spread the ball around a little more. I think Trubisky kind of had to hyper target Allen. It's by far and away their best weapon in Chicago. And Deontay's a good receiver. He gets open. I just don't think he gets 170 targets. I don't think he's a fringe wide receiver 1. I think he's more of a mid to back end wide receiver 2.
I'll move on by saying I disagree heavily.
Oh wow, kept it short and sweet.
Wow, man, you gotta tell us why.
I guess.
My Y is coming up when it's my turn. Do you want me to skip Goni for this one, and then Goni will go back to you, and then we'll start from scratch?
Oh yeah. If you're directly going against him
my
with yours,
overvalue this year is Najee Harris. He's his ADP is 9. He's RB6. Najee is a strictly volume player. We all know his advanced analytics suck. I mean, his yards per rush suck. His yards against stack boxes suck. The offense, probably takes a step back this year. He had a combined 10 touchdowns last year. That's going to drop. 74 receptions. That's going to drop. Mitch Trubisky is not known for dumping the ball off like Ben Roethlisberger. He had 1,200 yards rushing. That's going to take a hit. He's a high volume back that displayed poor running ability behind a bad offensive line with a bad quarterback. Is he going to yield an RB1 status again? Absolutely not. My thing is, RB1, you're right. He might back end RB1 at best, and that's strictly high volume potential. But my thing is, so Najee got hyper targeted last year by dump it down Ben Roethlisberger. As much as it is weird to say, because Ben Roethlisberger is a Hall of Famer, he sucked. Mitch Trubisky is not far off of Ben Roethlisberger's twilight year. I think Mitch Trubisky is not going to dump the ball off nearly as much to Najee Harris, which is going to take a hit to Najee Harris, and he's going to throw the ball out to his receivers more because that's what he's always done. I think that benefits Deontay Johnson more, and I think that hurts Najee Harris. I think the offense takes a slight step back, but I think some of those Najee Harris targets he was getting from Ben are now sent out to Deontay, keeping him well in relevant back in WR1, top end WR2 status.
Man, maybe. This might be Mike Tomlin's first losing year.
Nah, can't happen. He'll find a way. TJ Watt's going to have like 24 sacks this year, man,
that
defense,
make it
happen.
That defense is so good. That defense is so good. The offense doesn't have to do as much. Dude.
Ben Roethlisberger was dog water last year, right? And I mean, he's a dog water human, and he was a dog water quarterback last year. But the mental game was there. The reading coverage is pre-snap. That's what Trubisky doesn't bring.
But it doesn't matter because
playing behind Josh Allen for a year.
I could read all. I mean, if you gave me all the knowledge, but I don't have the arm to do anything with the knowledge, then what's it mean? He didn't have the arm to do anything. He duckballed it to Najee Harris half the time.
There was one game where he did that quite a lot. I think some of that too is Pittsburgh's going to scheme to get Najee one-on-one against linebackers. I think him and Deontay are by far their best players. So they'll be creative in ways to get him the ball. They're not going to throw the ball 600 times this year. It's not going to happen.
And Najee's not going to get 94 targets by any means. He's not going to touch 70-plus receptions. Their offense is going to take a step back. And it's even been said, Najee said it himself, that he's not going to be handling the ball so much this year. It's part of their game plan to kind of get other running backs involved and preserve him a little bit because they absolutely used the crap out of him last year.
1,200 yards on 3.9 yards per carry. That's disgusting efficiency.
It's the worst in history.
It's disgusting.
For a running back getting to 1,200 yards. It's the worst in history.
And if you're taking away his receiving work, his PPR work that really buoyed him, he's not. He's back end run RB1, and it's still even then pure volume. 10 touchdowns, a combined 10 touchdowns last year, receiving and rushing. I don't see that again. I mean, maybe he keeps, the 6-7 rushing, but say goodbye to the receiving touchdowns.
I totally agree. I'm thinking Najee as well.
Beggs, you'll like this one. You'll definitely like this one. My overvalue is Amari Cooper. He is currently going at the 507 as the wide receiver 22, so back-end wide receiver 2. We all know he got traded to Cleveland this year. We all know Deshaun Watson is suspended for at least 6 games. The NFL is not happy with that, and they put in an appeal to the judge to try and get more games, preferably a season is what they're looking for. And so that leaves Jacoby Brissett as the current starting quarterback. I looked into it, and Brissett is terrible. He does not support fantasy wide receivers by any means. He's never supported a wide receiver too. The best finish that he's ever had from a wide receiver was T.Y. Hilton in 2017 as the wide receiver 27. It was somewhere along the lines of 900 plus yards and 4 touchdowns.
Gross.
So, I mean, Cooper's just getting older as well. He was kind of fading a little bit the last couple of years in Dallas. And, I mean, I just kind of like other guys that are in his ADP range, guys like Mike Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Hollywood, Dalton Schultz, Allen Robinson, Brandon Cooks. Every last one of those guys has higher upside and a better chance of consistency to me than Amari Cooper does. I just don't want to be chasing those 18 to 20 point game here and then a 6 and an 8 and a 4 and a 3 and then an 18 here. And I don't want that. I want no part of that. And when you're talking about in the 5th round, that's a guy that you want to draft who's going to bring value to your team, because that's an important piece still that early in the draft. So stay away from Amari Cooper.
Yeah, dude, he's awful. Amari Cooper is terrible, man. He is if he had a work ethic, he'd be unbelievable. But he just disappears and he'll mope for 2 drives, be a non-threat. He's extremely overrated. Good riddance.
With the suspension, yeah, it's rough. I feel like he's got a decent ceiling, but he's dangerous. I just like you said, some of the players you named, I'd rather take them than take a chance on Amari's ceiling, especially not knowing the situation with Deshaun Watson, because the fact that the NFL's catching a lot of flack right now for him getting 1 million sexual assault allegations and only getting a 6-game suspension. Meanwhile, Calvin Ridley's suspended a year for betting $1,500 on his team to win in a game he wasn't playing. That's just wrong. That's flat out wrong. I mean, the judge got it wrong. I still think that the outcome changes. But even missing Deshaun Watson for a third of the year is not good for Amari's fantasy relevance. He terrifies me. He's got a decent ceiling, but this year he terrifies me. Yeah, I don't like him at all.
Avoiding like to play. Hey, really quick sidebar. I don't want to derail the whole show. Nothing's been proven against Deshaun. They're just allegations.
But the NFL has shown time and time again it doesn't have to be proven. If it's an issue of any sort that goes to court, then that's how it is.
Zeke was a perfect example. He was proven innocent and he got 6 games.
Bro, he ripped a girl's top down at a parade. Do you remember that?
No, I thought that absolutely was just thrown in like he was innocent. Was that for real?
There was proof. I saw it.
No, what he's talking about, there's a video of it.
Yeah.
But he was innocent. He was innocent of it because he came through and he was like, "She told me to do it, so I did it."
Oh,
because they were at like a parade where everybody was doing this, and he was like, "You pull it," and she was like, "You do it," and he was like, "Okay." So that's why he was innocent. Is that it was like she literally told me to do it, so I did it.
Yeah.
All right. Bad information on my end. My bad. That's why I gotta refer to the Cowboys fan.
Yeah, listen, I'm the czar of all off the field issues. Being a Cowboys fan, I don't know, man. Like anybody can accuse anybody of anything, but if it's not proven, it's
but
just
when you got 60 of them things coming out, dude.
I don't.
That and the other thing about it is, I remember at the beginning of all this, he was saying that he wasn't going to settle with any of them. The truth is going to come out and he's going to be proven innocent. And that man has settled with all of them except for like 1 or 2. So, like you said, he's not proven guilty, but it looks very bad.
If you had ever given Deshaun Watson a massage in your entire lifetime, you're definitely coming forward right now and claiming your free money, right?
Yeah, he'd hop on the train, I'm sure.
So, a little bit of it's that, right? It's got to be some money grabbing, which I can't blame him.
Yeah, but if he's settling with them, he could just go to court outright with a lot of them, if they're not true, and they're just hopping on the train and just not have to pay anything. He's like, here, take this check from me and go away.
But bro, if these women had proof, you would see it or hear about it. This would already be a done deal.
Maybe. I'm not a defense lawyer. I'm not a judge. I'm just saying. I'm just echoing the sentiments.
Yeah, I don't want to turn it into a whole thing. I was just curious.
Yeah, we could go into that. I have something I wanted to add to it, but I'm not going to do it because it opens up another can that I don't feel like dealing with. It's for another episode. We are on to dark horses. Dark horses. Beggs. Who's your AFC North dark horse?
I'm going to stay with the Brownies and go with Donovan Peoples-Jones. His ADP is 220, which means never drafted, and he's like wide receiver 1 million. So, we know about Kareem Hunt, but today, actually kind of under the radar, Anthony Schwartz, who was their wide receiver draft pick last year, limped off with a lower body injury. They're thinking it's pretty serious, which just leaves Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Bell, and Amari Cooper, of anybody of note on the depth chart. I think there's a chance that he develops into the Will Fuller kind of role that Will played in Texas with Deshaun. It's kind of the deep threat. He's a down the field guy almost exclusively. Doesn't work underneath at all. Amari is an underneath target. I think there's good synergy there. Word around camp is he and Deshaun are pretty good rapport. I know Deshaun's missing 6 games. This is a guy that I'm drafting in the penultimate round. I'm stashing. Maybe there's a chance that I know there's a chance maybe he comes through for me in a late playoff push. Again, it's just a flyer. But at 220, I think as a wide receiver 2 with good rapport, Deshaun, he's got a chance.
Yeah, I mean it's a late round. It's the latest of flyers going at 220. I have no idea even what that is, but. Yeah, I mean, you're taking a shot. Maybe he pans out as the deep threat here and there. You probably won't see a whole lot of consistency because if you referred to my research as Jacoby Brissett, he is not good. No. But you might hit some good games. He might be the deep down ball, downfield threat. And really, it's a guy to look into, like you said. Stash him, see if anything becomes of it. I don't hate on it.
Yeah.
That would be 220 is around 18 if you go that high in a 12-man league.
Wow. Most leagues stop 15 or 16?
15.
16.
16 was
15
plays.
Or 16. Yeah.
Wayne,
anything to add, or do you want me to move on?
No, I like it. I mean, I'm kind of this. My guy is kind of the same as Beggs in that he's outside the draft. You're getting anybody that you don't have to draft, you can pick up at the waiver wire after the draft. If they give you any sort of value, mint.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine is a little further in than yours. My dark horse is Rashad Bateman. No, I was poo-pooing on the passing game. I was talking up Mark Andrews. I looked into it, though. He's going 706 as the wide receiver 33. So back in wide receiver 3-ish. He's the new number 1 in Baltimore after Hollywood's departure. Beggs' favorite player in the whole league, or that's ever lived. He's leaving behind 145 targets. I'm not saying that, Lamar and the Ravens passed the ball a whole lot, but 145 targets is 145 targets. Even if he scoops up 110.
Wait.
120.
Wait.
What are we waiting on? Oh, he's typing things in.
Yep, 145 targets is indeed 145 targets. You are correct.
Yes, math checks out. Cha-ching.
Yep. Go ahead.
I mean, in the games that he saw 8 or more targets last year, which was 4 of them, he averaged 13.5 points per game on those in PPR leagues, which is pretty decent for your flex spot. He only scored a touchdown, just 1 last year. So he has a probability of scoring a couple more this year. Maybe give him, 3 or 4, and that'll boost his points up. And just some other guys that I don't really know if I would love as much going around his ADP. Ken Walker, Juju, Drake London, Devonta Smith, Cordarrelle Patterson, and Tony Pollard. It's a volume play similar to Beggs's with Darnell Mooney. If he sees 120 targets or more, sign me up. It's a 7th round pick. I like that for my flex spot.
Yeah, kind of odd to hear you say that. You're normally against volume, but yeah, I like it. I do think it's a good volume play. I think he plays a very different role than Hollywood. You know, he's not quite the deep threat. I think for me, I might take Juju over Bateman just for taking a flyer on Kansas City's offense, rolling with the Hall of Famer. But I can't hate the pick.
Yeah, I mean, if he gives you, matchup flex play ability, then pretty good value at him. What is he, round 7?
Yeah, round 7.
Yeah,
706, middle of the 7th.
He's definitely got an upside. I mean, that's what we're all about here. I mean, he's the only receiving option there, so I mean, he's got to have some value.
Something's got to come of it.
So, something's got to happen for receivers in Baltimore. I don't know what's going to happen, but something's got to happen.
Something's got to happen.
And we'll roll right into my dark horse, which is the darkest of horses. And this is
Gerald Everett dark.
It's
Gerald Everett was a great pick, by the way.
It's not Gerald Everett. My Lord, I'm not that bad.
Weak.
I'm going with D'Ernest Johnson. His ADP is 256, which for those of you keeping count at home is round 21, which means
lower than mine.
Never be drafted. RB 73.
Wow.
And listen, so I'm looking at this Kareem Hunt news. He's missed the past 2 practices. He returned to practice today and left early. He wants his money. He only signed a 2-year, $12 million deal, which is pennies these days. For a running back that sees the field. If I'm the Browns, I'm kind of like, hey man, we got you at a sticky situation. It could have been a situation where you never saw the field again, and we gave you that shot. So they might just be, kind of like, ride with us, my guy, because we helped you out. We all know he's a number 3 behind Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And obviously, the news of if Kareem's gone, he's got instant fantasy value. But I'm looking at him from I'm not trying to just bank on that. So what I did was I looked at how we did without Kareem in the spot of Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb, depending on injuries, because Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt both missed some games last year. So he ended up getting 5.3 yards per carry on 100 attempts. So there were 2 games last year where both Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb did not play. And in those 2 games, D'Ernest Johnson combined for 245 yards rushing, 9 receptions for 36 yards and a touchdown. When he was the primary back, no Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb, which is phenomenal numbers, right?
Phenomenal.
So then I was like, okay, so in an injury case, he's an immediate fill-in to your starting lineup. But then I'm like, okay, well, if there's Kareem Hunt issues and he's got to take the Kareem Hunt role, let's see how that is. And he did play a game in place of Kareem Hunt where Kareem Hunt was out and Nick Chubb still played. In that game, he finished with 123 yards rushing, a reception, and a touchdown with Nick Chubb playing.
Lovely.
So even in that Kareem Hunt role, immediate starting potential. We're talking RB1 numbers. Is he an RB1? Absolutely not. Is he very injury dependent? Obviously. But I'm just saying, for him to be a guy that you can just snag after your draft, who's putting up phenomenal numbers in place of injuries, and then we have this news with Kareem Hunt coming out, possible holdout. D'Ernest Johnson is well worth a stash because the games that he filled in, he was putting up phenomenal numbers. Not okay numbers, not serviceable numbers, phenomenal numbers when he was put into a starting role.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt saw Jacoby Brissett throw a few wounded ducks and said, "Oh no, hey, get me out of here, man." I like to pick Wayne.
Guys, what you want to do, Mad Mob, is this one is for you as far as you go through your draft. The guys that you take that are on the PUP list or on IR to start the season, whatever, you're taking those guys, you're throwing them on IR to free up a roster spot, and then after the draft, go ahead and scoop up Dearness Johnson, like Wayne is saying. He's not wrong. All the numbers are excellent. He just laid it out perfectly for you. And it's just a stash situation. It costs you absolutely nothing. You have this roster spot until your guy comes back from the PUP. We have a lot of developing football still to come through the preseason. Injuries can happen. This holdout from Kareem Hunt could, reach a boiling point. We could see a trade. It's just a lot of factors that can make this actually happen. And for a guy to be that good and go undrafted, I know a lot of things have to go right, but if they go right and you're holding the golden nugget, you're going to be very happy about it.
You look like a genius too, because everybody's got that one guy in your league who is just sitting there staring at alerts nonstop. And if news came out that Kareem Hunt's gone, this man is absolutely logged in, already has his name typed up, ready to pick him up off the waivers. And then when it's going to pop up, would you like to trade for Dearness Johnson with fill in your team's name? You look like a genius. Just stash him, like you said. Especially if you got a dude that can immediately go on IR. He's a great stash with great upside. Obviously injury dependent, but with this Kareem stuff, he's worth a stash.
I like it. I like the pick.
All right, Beggs, go ahead and give us a rundown real quick of your AFC North and NFC North locks and dark horses and overvalues.
All right, NFC North, overvalue, David Montgomery. Lock, A.J. Dillon. Dark horse, Darnell Mooney. AFC North lock, Nicholas Fitzgerald-Chubb. Undervalue, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Overvalue, Deontay Fitzgerald-Johnson.
Goni, who you got?
My NFC North lock is Justin Jefferson, Jetta. My overvalue is Amon-Ra St. Brown. My dark horse is Cole Kmet. In the AFC, the lock is Mark Andrews. The overvalue is Amari Cooper. And the dark horse, Rashad Bateman.
My NFC North lock, Aaron Jones. Dark horse, Alan Lazard. Overvalue is Adam Oldman Thielen. AFC North, the lock is Jamar Chase. Dark horse, Ernest Johnson. My overvalue is Najee Harris. Boys, hope we helped you out. It's been a good time. We got one more episode in this little mini-series. Taking on my team. My lock is all of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And my dark horse is all the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And my overvalue is none of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
None of them.
Man, I was looking ahead a little bit. These two divisions are ugly.
I already know, dude. I'm on it.
Nice. The overvalues are going to be ridiculous because they all suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, 5 Sundays till football. Let's get it.
5 Sundays till football. Hey, listen. This Sunday, no, was it? Yeah, this Sunday was the last Sunday with no football until February.
Oh, this past one?
Yeah.
August 7th?
Yep. August
Very
13th starts preseason. Yeah, and then we're going right into the preseason 4 weeks. So Mad Mob, what I'm doing. So what we do, Mad Mob, is we don't want the same.
It's your wives, but you still can.
We don't want the same people, so we call dibs. So I went ahead and had to send a text of who I'm picking, just so they couldn't pick them.
He's the worst. He's the absolute worst.
Got him.
So,
we're working here, man.
Got him sleeping. Dibs. He's so mad because that's who he was like, bang, that's who my overvalue is going to be. It's simple.
I wasn't even thinking about it. I just looked down and see we already have picks for the next one, so I don't want to be left holding the bag and scrambling for who I'm going to take.
Is that who you were going to pick?
I'm sure I would have come around to it. I didn't even lay out the divisions in my mind, bro.
Hey, well, I got dibs.
All right. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here.
Mad Mob, we're getting the TikTok up and running. I had to go to Begley's house tonight to hold his hand on how to make a social media account.
Old people.
So we got Facebook, Mad Fantasy Football, which is getting up there. So get in on that early. We have, you can email us, madffpodcast@gmail. We got a Twitter @madffpodcast, Reddit mad_ff_podcast, and TikTok.
Facebook.
We're in the TikTok game, mad_ff_podcast. We're going to be getting those up more. We have a Q&A we're probably going to put up soon.
Couple days.
Be
Be out there. Send us your questions on Facebook or Reddit. Join the group on Facebook. We have a page and a Facebook group, Mad Fantasy Football Podcast. We've been getting a lot of traction lately. Your questions, thoughts, concerns, rosters, all welcome. We have a good community there, and we look forward to seeing you guys. Like and subscribe also to the podcast, please.
Also, if you all want to see a Discord or anything, if you all want us to start a Discord server, if it's easier for some of you all to reach us there, just let us know. If we get a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'd rather hit you up on Discord, just hop on the Facebook group, email us, tweet us, anything, and let me know. If we get a lot of people that want a Discord server, I'll start one. We're trying to stay as connected to you all as possible. We're growing, and it's thanks to you all. But we don't want to get to the point where, like, because these Q&As are something that we love to do and we take serious, and it's something we do to try and help you all out, because every time you listen to us, you help us out, and it's something that we always want to take serious, and we don't want it to be like Fort Knox trying to get your question answered with us. So we're trying to open all avenues of communication with you all. So if you all want to see a Discord server, just let us know, and we'll get that going as well. But until then, we'll talk to y'all in a couple days. Matt Mob, we're out.
Out.
Later, boys.